evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is the Rudy Giuliani Show on Lindell TV. And you caught me looking at some of the Gospels that are coming up for Holy Week. And it seems to me that there's been a change, but I will have to consult my scholarly, close lifetime friend, Alan Plaka, on whether or not this was changed. Because I have a very old missal here. This is Don't Tell the FBI, the Latin Mass, English translation on the right. And it seems to me that they used to read the Passion of the Christ on Holy Thursday. But here I see, and they do, I think, in the modern church, I see in the older Latin church, they read it on Wednesday. Here it is, Wednesday of Holy Week, the Passion of our Lord Jesus Christ, according to Luke. In illo tempore, Igrisus Iesus ibat secundum, cal sectudem in montem oliverum sectu sunt autem ilium et dispuli. Just simply means at that time going out, Jesus went according to his custom to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. Now we go to Thursday. I see the gospel instead is something different on a Holy Thursday. And it seemed to me that nowadays they read the Passion on Holy Thursday. And I don't see it here. So we'll have to find out if there's been a change. And of course, they read only on Holy Thursday here, the gospel, that part of the Passion, which relates to the Last Supper and the creation of the Eucharist, which is, of course, the great sacrament that is celebrated and created on that night. And then there's a whole ceremony of the blessing of the oils, and of course, where people determine it, the washing of the feet, which the Pope used to do. I don't know. And they call it the Mass. They used to call it the Mass of the Last Supper. And then they would have the part of the ceremony called Mundi, or the washing of the feet. And then the stripping of the altars, then Good Friday. Now, here's why I was looking for all this, and we're going to save this for our discussion later in the week as we get further into Holy Week. But the most significant gospel, beyond, of course, the great religious significance of all of them, for trouble during the Middle Ages, was the Gospel of John. And it was read on Holy Friday. You will say, well, why? We have 4 Gospels, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew is the first of the Gospels. The 3 synoptic Gospels that largely follow each other's outline, not 100%, are Matthew, Mark, and Luke, written somewhat later and in a more poetic style, in a more emotional style, which some people prefer, some don't. The Gospel of John, beautiful gospel. It begins with poetry as opposed to the genealogy of Jesus Christ. But in its Passion Gospel, it has a portion where Pilate is reluctant to kill Jesus and says, first he gives them a choice between He says, on your holiday, I have the right to pardon one person. You pick. And he says, here's Barabbas, who they were very afraid of. He was a killer, a frightening killer. Or I'll give you Jesus. He thought that would get him off the hook. He could let Jesus go. I picked Jesus. And then he said, well, this is a choice that you've made. He washes his hands and says, his blood be on you and your people. And that statement, called the blood libel, often seen as a very, very highly suggestive anti-Semitic statement. And it is a powerful statement, isn't it? Your blood be on you and your descendants. Led very often in European countries to the mass being followed by some of the worshipers in feigned or maybe brainwashed anger, I don't know, religious fervor, going out and beating Jews, which became the basis for the pogrom, where people go beat people because they're Jewish. A terrible, terrible, terrible thing. And a terrible utilization of one of the most beautiful and most important stories ever told, whether you believe it or you don't, a story of love and forgiveness. And Jesus, throughout this, blames no one for this. He doesn't blame the Jews. Of course, he was Jewish. Many of the Jews supported him. They were without power to do anything about it, either against the Romans or their elders. But it might very well have been he had a majority of support in the Jewish community, which is why the elders feared him so much. And the Romans who killed him, of course, didn't have to listen to the Jews. They had them overpowered by so much that, later in that century, they destroyed their temple. So they were not going to execute somebody they didn't want to execute. And Jesus finally forgives them all. He asks his Father to forgive them, remember, for they know not what they do. Now, Jesus died on the cross that you're celebrating on this Good Friday, not this, but talking about Good Friday. Then that motivates you to go out and beat people up. And you don't think you missed what he was telling you? People are strange, aren't they? That's a very strange thing. First time I heard that, I grew up in a very Catholic family and in a very Catholic environment. I went to Catholic school all my life. And gosh, if I wasn't in class or at home playing ball, I was in the church and with the priests. And had my friends at home were Jewish as much as Catholic and Irish, and we didn't have any of this. I didn't think of them as different, because I guess in my little mind, I sort of developed the idea that God reveals himself in interesting and different ways. So I was fascinated with comparative religion, studied it at one time. But never, whether I would have had feelings of anger at a particular religion or whatever, I don't understand how you can fervently and overzealously follow Christianity, and right after your leader tells you to forgive them, you don't. And it's not even them. It's them, if them at all, 2,000 years ago. It might be you. You may be Jewish. How do you know? But we'll go into that. It's a very interesting story, and it's very interesting. Um, um, some people think not as important to the historical development of the great cancer of anti-Semitism, and some people thinking it's at the core of it. And both sides are worthy of discussion and worthy of thought. What's worthy of thought and discussion right now is to try to get a little beyond, or a lot beyond, where we are in terms of the little debates that are going on. Now, the thing about all the little debates that are going on is they're really big debates. This would often be a debate for an entire political season, one of them. Immigration, taxes, tariff, Middle East, Ukraine, acquiring any one of the countries, Panama, Greenland, Canada, not sure. Relationships with Europe, NATO, all of these at stake. Of course, the relationship with beyond Ukraine, the relationship with the two countries that matter in terms of potential damage to the United States, Russia and China. Every day I find, because I track these every day something significant happens in almost every area I just mentioned. And that's very rare. Usually you can spend time focusing down on 3 or 4 and you're covering it. So even when we talk about tariffs and we talk about Ukraine, Russia, we talk about Iran, which I missed. Pretty big to miss. Well, Middle East, I guess. And we see that the tariffs, although, of course, everybody has their own interpretation, and I'm going to give you mine, and then I'm going to tell you what I think is important about it. And I don't think my interpretation is important, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I think the president did this all at once, meaning all the tariffs out there, everything else out there, the peace agreement in the Middle East, the peace agreement in Ukraine, and all the other things I mentioned. The president put this all on the table at once because he only has 4 years. And he knows that he has right now a great deal of political credit. And I think he expects he might get to the point of having more before it begins to dissipate somewhat, just naturally. And I think he also knows how to turn the economic spigot on so that we can create the kind of economic well-being that will create popularity, particularly if you can get a few things straightened out. And he thinks I think he realized you'd get bogged down in any one of these forever. So he situated it brilliantly, didn't he? Always, the greatness of a leader is setting priorities. The one who wins figures out what to address that's most important. Because every complex situation is divided into so many subparts, you can easily get bogged down in the details. And you're fighting every part of the battle. But the other general realizes, oh my goodness, there's only that little part over to the right there, to that left corner there, that the battle is really important. And if I strike there and I take that out, the rest is going to collapse. This one's easy, right? Aside from ourselves, which is always a battle, and the words of our founding fathers, because the only ones who can undo us are ourselves from within. And I think the president has done a great job of skilling us up against that and reminding us that we're not the pathetic creatures that we see displayed as examples of us on television, that we're much stronger and better people than that we're much more worthy of being the sons and daughters of the people who won the revolution and the Civil War and the other wars, the ones who liberated Europe from the Nazis and Eastern Europe, the communists. We're better than that. We're extraordinarily strong people. We're the leading nation in the world. Gosh, we wouldn't have the immigration problem we have if they didn't see something in us that many of us don't see in ourselves, huh? So that's there, but it needs to be recognized by a leader, and it is. But there is an external challenge of great dimension. The external challenge is Red China. For many reasons, not the least of which is their monumental patience. Their patience built of thousands of years of wanting to be a great kingdom, a world kingdom, of often being a great kingdom, but always recognized in a narrow area, never recognized to the extent they felt they should be. And when challenged in war, too often defeated by a small little country like Japan. Often plagued by tremendous types of corruption, whether it was economic or cultural. Not really geared by a transcendental philosophy, theology, one that takes you much beyond the present day, or not one not one that would tend to create a greatness of thought or soaring vision. Confucianism, Buddhism, all methods of behavior as opposed to spiritual religions. Methods of behavior rather than appeals to the greatness of human passion. Extraordinarily practical, extraordinarily common sense, extraordinarily decent, but hardly elevating. Religious practices, non-existent really. More cultural practices without the grandeur and the beauty that have women's minds look to the top of a cathedral, crack beyond it and look up into the heavens, and then wonder, can they get there? It's a very different culture. It needs to be understood. And the frustration of that culture needs to be understood. And it's all been isolated now for our lifetime. All those thousands of years of what China is about. And then with the added Karl Marx version of communism in a totally different area, Germany, brought over, mixed into it, put together with Mao. And now we have Xi Jinping contemplating, how does China control the world? And If you think he isn't, you are as foolish as the people who got us into the Second World War. It's his every thought. It's what he's thinking. It's what the Chinese people who are knowledgeable know he's thinking, and it informs everything he does. And he is a great risk to the future survival of our civilization. Now, how do I know that? I know that in the same way we would have known about Hitler had we been as observant as Winston Churchill and not like most of the other people in the 1920s and 30s. I know it because I do something called read. And I study. And I, to some extent, research. And when I'm not sure, I read a little more. I read books about China, 2 new ones here I recommend to you because they're somewhat different, is Rudd on Xi Jinping, right here. He's former Australian ambassador, PhD. This is an enormously scholarly work. It's filled with almost more footnotes than pages and a bibliography of tremendous. I would get the book just to have the bibliography so you can go look things up and find books that take you deeper into subjects. And books on books on everything about China. Let's put it that way. And it isn't a pretend history of China through Xi Jinping. It's a thoroughgoing analysis of trying to explain the man's mind. And his, I guess you want a simple question. Obviously, a book of this seriousness can't be a single question, but is he or isn't he a Marxist? And the answer, which I think you know anyway, so just find out how that's true, is he's his own kind of Marxist. Does he want to take over the world? Yes. Does he have a specific time to do it? Yes. When is that shifting? Shifting based on realities of the world, realities of China, America's economy, their economy. The second book is shorter, as interesting, somewhat different political thought of Xi Jinping by Steve Sang and Olivia Chong. Now, this is a book that also asks the question, is he a Marxist or isn't he? And it please don't get upset with me, the people who wrote this, because I think it's an excellent book. I think it really is an excellent book. Their answer is, and although the Rudd book is more scholarly and this is more readable, more journalistically readable, this book basically comes to the conclusion that he really isn't a Marxist. They may conclude that he's a Leninist. And they're not trying to escape that he's a communist. I mean, this isn't like, the ridiculous idiots who will write that he's not a communist and he's really a wonderful man. And they, so you put aside that sort of academic argument. Here's the beauty of the second book. Well, first of all, you'll be able to read it faster. And secondly, it shows you that what is the guiding philosophy of China today. And it's right in the, isn't that right there? The political thought of Xi Jinping. That's why it's called that. On that, both of these books agree. They come there from different places. They also agree that he's not finishing his life without trial. So that we are so that we are uh, uh, bound to face and attempt over the next 20 years by Xi Jinping to control the world to the detriment of the United States. And it's not to include the U.S. as a partner in doing that. He realizes that the only way to control the world is to destroy the power that the United States has as the world's leading economy. Donald J. Trump organized everything that's come to where we are right now with that sole thought in mind. And it was obvious from the beginning. It's obvious right now when he happily said yes to the 90 countries that want to negotiate the tariffs and seems just as happy to say no to China wanting to discuss something else, but not have direct talks about the tariff. And the longer they remain there, the more he will pick up allies. The point of this period of time for the president is to study the world as it is now. It's almost like we're interviewing for allies. Everything has gone out. I don't know. I mean, our allies were NATO. Our allies were some other countries. Some of them were good allies. Some of them were useless allies. Some hurt us. Some helped us. We're coming to a world conflict now over who controls the world, China or the United States. So we're much better off getting rid of the useless allies. We don't need them in the boat. Let them go do whatever the heck they want to do. But let's pick the really strong ones that are going to help us. And there are a bunch of them. Let's find out who they are. And this is a way to do that. I'll give you an example. I mean, it's pretty obvious that we don't have much of an ally in Spain. The president of Spain ran off the other day to meet with Xi Jinping, to suck up to him. But what did Vietnam do the first day? Vietnam asked for a meeting and a 0-0. Oh, you put one. Now let's put one down on the potential big ally category, unexpected, and put the other down as maybe less. I won't be insulting. Let's say, don't count on them. And that's going to continue. And we don't need the whole world. We just need a lot of fighting allies. So we have with us Kara Castronova, who is at the White House looking fresh and ready to go after a long day. Did he weigh you down
Hey,
today?
Mr. Mayor. Today was a long day. Yes, there was a press briefing earlier today. Then the president did a ceremony here at the White House, as well as signed some executive orders. So it was a busy day for everybody here. The weather was interesting. It was raining at some points, then it was hot, then it was cold. So, very strange weather here in Washington, D.C. today. But besides that, there was that press briefing earlier today that I was at. I know that Carolyn had mentioned, and I thought you'd find this interesting, and I'm certain you're probably not watching it, but Biden, former President Biden, is doing his first speech, maybe as we're speaking right now, probably fear-mongering the American public, telling them that Trump is going to take away Social Security or something like that. So I wasn't sure if you were aware that the former president is doing his first speech since he left office tonight.
I have to confess, I forgot.
Most people probably did. So I brought that clip with me to share with you, not of actually this speech, but of Caroline Leavitt. And I thought she had, I don't know if you caught up with the press briefing earlier, but she had actually a remark regarding that speech tonight. If you want to take a listen to this clip and then let me know what you think.
Let me take a look at the question, but the one I like best is the question you asked the other day, but go ahead.
Okay, we'll talk about that next, but take a look at this clip.
Yeah.
My My first reaction when seeing former President Biden was speaking tonight was I'm shocked that he is speaking at nighttime. I thought his bedtime was much earlier than his speech tonight. I understand the topic of his speech will be Social Security. Let me make it very clear ahead of former President Biden's remarks. President Trump, is absolutely certain about protecting Social Security benefits for law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens and seniors who have paid into this program. He will always protect that program. He campaigned on it, he protected it in his first term, and he's back again to continue protecting it.
I thought that
So
was that was
there you
excellent.
go.
I guess she's anticipating a cheap shot at Social Security, huh?
Yeah, for sure. And also anticipating that Biden could possibly fall asleep during that speech tonight because it's past his normal bedtime. So that's what she said here from the podium that I'm standing on today. It was kind of a sort of Trump-like joke, I thought, that the press secretary delivered to the press today. So that was an interesting moment, I thought, Mr. May, and I thought you'd find that interesting because I know
I
you're
did,
not the biggest fan, obviously, of the former president.
or nor is he of me, right?
Well, and then there was other clips I could share one more with you. Then we could talk about that question that you spoke about the other day, and it went pretty viral. But I know that you've been paying obvious attention to everything that's going on right now with the legacy media, very concerned about the due process. Obviously, they are very concerned about the due process of the illegal aliens that were deported. And it's frustrating, I think, for a lot of people watching, Americans watching, because this very same media had no concern for when the due process of a former president was being obviously shredded for the past 4 years, or his supporters, or the due process of Rudy Giuliani. But they're very concerned about the due process of illegal aliens that are alleged gang members. So this was what Carolyn Levitt had to say today about that situation.
Democrat and media outrage over the deportation of Abrego Garcia, an MS-13 El Salvadorian illegal alien criminal who is hiding in Maryland, has been nothing short of despicable. Based on the sensationalism of many of the people in this room, you would think we deported a candidate for Father of the Year. That's because, unfortunately, many in this country care more about this quote-unquote Maryland father, a legal alien MS-13 gang member, than a Maryland mother and an American citizen who was brutally murdered at the hands of a different illegal alien. Of course, I am referring to Rachel Morin. And if you didn't see yesterday, a Maryland jury found illegal alien Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez guilty of murdering Rachel Morin in August of 2023. She was a 37-year-old mother of 5 who was jogging in an otherwise safe community northeast of Baltimore when this monster ambushed, strangled, and beat her to death before stuffing her brutalized body in a tunnel drain. The Morin family finally got justice yesterday, but they will never get Rachel back. Our hearts go out to Rachel's family, her 5 children, and her mother, Patty, who has suffered the unimaginable loss of her daughter.
I mean, she's really right on target. Can I ask you, though, going back a little bit, what made you ask the question you asked? And of course, it went viral, but you should replay it for us. It was short enough, and we can.
Sure. If the producers on the other side could hear and you guys want to pull that up, let me know. But we could talk about that clip, Rudy, for sure. I wasn't prepared with it today, but it did go viral. You never know what goes viral. Sometimes you have no reason to, figure something might go viral or not. Really, the reason I asked that question that day was because the president was having his physical fitness examination. That was on Friday, and the mainstream media was obsessively asking questions like, will he be transparent about his physical health? And I thought that was really funny because obviously they were not asking the same thing for 4 years of Joe Biden, who obviously was not well. And they were just pushing the press secretary so much that it was the end of the week. And I thought to be lighthearted. And also the truth of the matter is that President Trump has lost weight. And that is a really big accomplishment. As you know, as you get older, it's very difficult to lose weight. A lot of elderly people think sometimes it's too late to lose weight. I'm a former boxer, former fitness trainer. And I think that the American people, it's in the interest of the American people, especially those over the age of 65. And it's inspirational to know what President Trump is doing. Maybe he's walking more in the morning. Maybe he's just cutting back on McDonald's, which is what I asked. Are you cutting back on McDonald's? Are you working out with Bobby Kennedy? maybe he's power walking. Whatever it is he's doing, I think is of national interest because the American people have become so unhealthy. And I think that more than 50%, obviously, of Americans voted for President Trump. That being said, they would probably find it to be interesting and inspirational, obviously, to find out what he's been doing to look and stay so healthy at the age that he's at.
I think he does a little of that, but when I see him on the weekends, a lot of it is golf, Kara. I mean, he plays very intensely, and although he rides a cart, he walks a lot. So he'll put the cart. He'll drive up to the tee area in a cart, right? And then he'll hit a long. He usually hits the ball about 270, 280, and straight. And I'd say, unless he's on the phone or engaged in a conversation with his partner, he'll walk. So he probably walks about 3/4, and he's in the cart maybe a quarter. That's a lot of walking. That's like 4 or 5 miles of walking. And for a man 78 years old, that's pretty healthy. 4 or 5 miles. Most 78-year-old men don't walk 4 or 5 miles a day. Sometimes he plays golf more than once. I mean, he can finish, and if they don't come there with a meeting for him, he'll say to anybody, "Want to play a little more?" And he may play. He just may play 4 or 5 more holes and go back. And I think that's why the doctor actually put in the report that one of the reasons he's so healthy is because he's such a good golfer. And he also affirmed something everybody always wondered: is he a really good golfer? The reality is he's the top 99% for non-professional golfers. And he plays so well that you could say, watching him, had he devoted himself to golf, he could have been a very good professional golfer. Sometime you should interview my son Andrew about that, because Andrew was a professional golfer, and Donald Trump helped to teach him golf. And he'll tell you the strengths, and he'll even tell you the weaknesses of his game. But I think that has a lot to do with it. I think Ed was able to get it. I want to listen to it, okay?
Yes.
The question overwhelmingly elect him to this office. Jennifer.
Is he going, I'm asking about the physical, is he undergoing any general anesthesia, and can you outline any of the other tests that he's doing today?
He is not. He is undergoing quite a few tests, imaging. Again, it's a it's a yearly physical, so there's quite a lot that goes into it to make sure the president is accomplishing all of his goals, and we will provide a readout of that as soon as we can.
And will you be committed to releasing all of the results, as many of the results as possible?
Of course, yes. The president's physician will do that. I spoke with him this morning.
Sure. Will you guys also consider releasing the president's fitness plan? He actually looks healthier than ever before, healthier than he did 8 years ago, and I'm sure everybody in this room could agree. Is he working out with Bobby Kennedy, and is he eating less McDonald's?
I can confirm the president is in very good shape, as you see, on a near daily basis here. And in that vein, thank God it's Friday. It's been a very long and busy week here at the White House. We will see you all on Monday, and we will release the results of that report as soon as we can. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.
I don't know about eating the McDonald's, though.
I don't know. You might have some insight because you had the golf insight, Mr. Mayor, and that's great information to have because
I don't know. He's still eating his hamburgers.
Okay, maybe he's taking one of the buns off. Maybe he's taking off the top bun, and that's the secret because he definitely lost weight. And I believe his physical examination came back that he lost 20 pounds, and that's a lot to lose. That's a lot of weight. I think he's actually put on a little muscle.
I watched him lose it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When he first lost it during the campaign, I actually wondered if it was healthy or not. But then he worked into it beautifully. When you first lose weight, you sometimes look unhealthy. But he lost it in a healthy way, and he worked himself back into it.
Yeah,
he is in remarkably good shape. God bless him. God bless him. So we still have quite a bit of we still have a big day ahead tomorrow, right? And to see what where we go, huh? And we have standing out there what the heck Iran is going to do and what Russia is going to do and how he is going to respond to that. So we better stay on top of that also. But thank you very, very much, Kara. Excellent report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have a good night.
Thank you. She does a great job of covering the whole thing and giving us a balanced picture of what's going on, there. You know, because of the number of issues, it seems to me we cover, in comparison to the Biden White House guys, that we used to cover 2 stories maybe at the most about them. If we wanted to, we could cover 8 stories from the White House today. And we're going to cover about 4 or 5. Yeah. They're all China, right? The whole thing with Garcia, which she mentioned. What we're doing in Yemen. What we're doing in Israel.
Ukraine.
What's going on in Ukraine?
The meeting with Bukele yesterday. The meeting with Bukele.
The meeting with Bukele, which carried over into today.
The left's violence. I mean, look what they tried to do to the president.
The violence against
That includes,
the violence against Shapiro, which goes up to the White House because it's part of the whole violent situation.
Right.
So, and then of course the ongoing tariff discussions.
Right.
He has 90 countries that have sought to meet with him to work out a deal in 3 months. So that has to be an extraordinarily busy White House, and putting the teams together that can negotiate that. And remember, you have to negotiate it on a some kind of a equitable basis, so that if you have your feelings on tariffs and I have my feelings on tariffs, I'm not negotiating my feelings and you're not negotiating your feelings. We're negotiating for the president. So that's a hard, believe it or not, that's a hard thing for Washington people to do, to lose their ego in a situation where they can truly represent the president. Well, let's take a short break and we'll be right back.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our spring percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to mypillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. No Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with you on the Rudy Giuliani Show. Well, as I said, I think how we come out of this first 2-month pause, first 3 months soon, is China. This world is going to be determined by who runs it, China or the United States. And don't make no mistake about it, somebody always runs it. It's too diffuse not to have the most powerful nation run it. And there is the most powerful nation, and there's one that aspires to be. And they're very different, and they have very different views of how you run or guide the world. One has the view of freedom and respect for others, and do as much as you have to do, but do not be an authoritarian. And the other has a view that there is only one way to live a good life. That's the communist way, and you're all going to live it, or you're not going to be unhappy because you're going to be dead. Or a slave. So if you've been brainwashed in Marxism so much that you don't recognize that, I feel very, very sorry for you, and I suggest some kind of deprogramming of a serious nature. And no matter how much money it costs you to do it, because you're going to lead a horrible life. But if you recognize what happening, it's not too late to deal with. This came out very clearly over the last 4 years. In some ways, the election of Biden was a mistake because they brought all of Marxism forward too quickly. They've done everything right except jump too quickly at the end. People aren't ready for this. They aren't ready for all of these complete changes, which also leads, the last stages of Marxism is a completely amoral society. No marriage, no barriers on sex, and no barriers on sex either between people or sexes or genders, and who even knows what gender is. No moral principles of any kind. Of course, there is no God to hold anyone accountable. And there's no hope because there's no afterlife. No hope of any kind. It's what kind of pleasure can you get out of this life, or that you better do it because it's going to be over. It's a completely nihilistic, completely self-absorbed way of living, which you can see in the attitude of the people who live it. There's an expression the president uses, and for some reason, I find this more offensive with regard to Xi Jinping than I do to Putin. And he may even use it more often with Xi Jinping. He calls him his friend. No, he's not the president's friend. I know the president's friend. They come play golf with him every Saturday. Xi Jinping doesn't come play golf with him every Saturday. Xi Jinping would consider it a waste of time. He's trying to figure out how he can take New Jersey. Right? Xi Jinping is not a friend of anybody's. He's a man who's He's a man that's killed so many people you can't contemplate it. You can't contemplate it. I've tried to do this at times, and maybe this is why I'm either I bore you with doing this, or it's very good for you that I do this, because I can do it. I would have to take the word of and use professional killers, people who committed multiple murders in order to convict other people who committed or ordered or even higher than them in ordering murder. And it was hard to understand, first of all, the credibility of the people I was working with. Could I believe them? How much of it could I believe them? Where does the fault line come in that creates the distortion that they can do this? What's wrong with their soul or their intellect or whatever? The truth is, there is something. These are seriously disturbed human beings. Normal human beings do not commit murder. Don't let anybody tell you that. An accidental murder, of course. But normal human beings don't murder 5 people, 6 people, 7 people, 8 people, or 1 million people. Set out the plans for how to a million people. Or COVID comes along and send them around so that you can have 1 million deaths in America and 500,000 in Italy and 400, so they match up to China's. Normal people don't do this. The only people who do this are very, very sick people. And that's what we're dealing with. So this takes a very special, very, very gifted person who can see and assess quite effectively what works and what doesn't work. And the president is quite good at that. And we're very lucky to have that. But it's something we're going to have to watch very closely. And we have to watch it very closely because it's going to tell us how's it working, and there may be ups and downs. But it got off very quickly. I expected it to, not this quickly, and I expected it to because he doesn't feel he has that much time. But so far, this administration has been off to a remarkable start. Don't forget, take a look at one of these 2 books, Political Thought of Xi Jinping, on Xi Jinping. One is by Sang and Chung, and the other is by Kevin Rudd. The reality is that the end result of all of their begging for Garcia to come back to Baltimore so he can work with his MS-13 people and shaking people down, stealing their cars, stealing women, raping children. So far, it looks like the president of El Salvador is not inclined to give him back to us. And there's nothing, I do not think, that a federal court can do about it. He's not subject to the jurisdiction of the federal court. The judge may have a hissy fit. He looks like a judge that could have a hissy fit. And so it looks like he's not getting past Bukele. We'll see. The president is down to virtually no illegal entrance anymore because they know he could do everything he can to put them in, not just put them in prison, put them in really horrible prison. So, gee, he just does that because he doesn't like them. No, he does it because he likes you. That's why.
That's a great line, Mayor.
And they don't. The Democrats have no respect for you. You're just a vote that they often buy or cheat or make up or get a dead person to cast. And sooner the media picks up on that, the sooner we're going to have a really, truly great country. But in any event, remember, we'll be back tomorrow on this network with the Rudy Giuliani show, also on X. And then right after this, we'll be on X with America's Mayor Live, where we will continue these topics. And then we've got plenty more to take a look at, like this growing violence that's taking place. The governor of Pennsylvania, the Teslas, the violence all over the country. What's happening to us? Where is it coming from? And what can be done about it? We're going to do as best we can to wrap our rounds around that and also deal with the other things that haven't been presented to you to this day, by the suck up, whatever you want to call it, media. Well, pray for the people of Israel and the people of Ukraine, and pray for the people of Iran, and pray for the President of the United States, and God bless America.